All right, here we go. It is PowerWorks time with Glenn Power from PowerWorks Automotive. It's the car podcast. We're going to be talking about cars. Got a great review coming up. Well, I don't know if it's great, but it's a review that is great. The car, other questions. We're going to talk a little bit about, how do you determine if a body shop is a decent body shop? Because scratches, dents, bumps, things, we have to use them. And there is dubious quality out there. And then we just got other stuff.
Loads of stuff.
That's where we go in this quick and dirty podcast. Well, your hands are clean.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
You wear gloves when you're working? I mean, because the tactile thing, you kind of want to feel bolts and...
Used to in the UK.
Yeah.
We were really, really religious with it in the UK, but not so much here just because it's just too hot and they just get full of sweat.
Yeah.
In the UK it was an extra layer of protection from the cold.
Yeah, okay.
But not so much here, no. Plus it's more reactive here, so you're like jumping in and grabbing hold of something before you have thought about putting gloves on. So,
yeah, there you go. We have a car review. The Palisade. You had family come in, so you did a rental of a 7-seater, and Hyundai popped up on the grid.
Yeah.
And you went and got a Palisade.
Yeah, I mean, fair play. It was through Galadari.
Okay.
So Galadari had a rental, and there was a guy there who I just asked a question. We need something with 6 or 7 seats. Have you got anything? And he said, come and have a look around. And it was a CX-9 or a Palisade. The CX-9 was a little bit awkward, looked like a bit awkward to get into the back.
Yeah, okay.
And we probably wouldn't have fitted the 2 baby seats side by side, so the kids couldn't have got in the back.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah.
We could have made it, once you're in, it would have been fine.
But
just
getting in and
was
out.
A little bit.
How long was the family here for?
10 days.
Yeah, that's okay. That would be 9 days too many of trying to squeeze in the back.
Yeah, so we just thought, you know what? So the Palisade was real easy to get in and out of. The doors were huge, and the seats moved right the way forward.
Yeah.
So it just made sense.
It's made for that.
Yeah, but it's kind of they've forgotten about it being a car. So
man,
I'm disappointed because
we talk. And so I want to qualify this because we talk a lot about Kia, a lot about Hyundai, and we are fans.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Telluride looks better than the Palisade. That's
I
Kia's
agree.
version of the Palisade.
It's a little bit less expensive too, I think.
Quite a lot, I think. Yeah. But the Palisade was just everything was just unnecessary on it. Like
what do you mean unnecessary? I mean, the first thing you said. Let's jump back to the first thing. We'll get to the unnecessary.
Yeah.
You said they forgot that it's a car.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense in any way.
Okay.
So you got your space inside.
Yeah.
But then you had wireless charging, which
just in the front or
just in the front.
Okay.
There was USBs everywhere, and there was more USBs than airbags. But there was
okay. So they've done something right. So
so there's wireless charging.
Yeah.
Now my phone is an S20.
Yeah.
And unless it was perfectly placed, it wouldn't charge. And it was also covered, which I liked the idea of because it stops you being distracted by it lighting up when you get a message or a call or something, whatever, which is cool. But it was only covered half the way. There was no ventilation in there, seemingly, so it got very, very hot, which wasn't great. And obviously we were driving with the AC on, but in that little, because it was kind of covered, it just kept the heat in.
A little oven.
That didn't make sense. The infotainment screen was probably as big as this laptop, but now it had Android and Apple.
So that's a good 15 inches.
CarPlay. But there was no standalone navigation on it.
Oh, really? So it had to sync into your phone.
Which is fine, but then it gets even more hot when it's wireless charging. And that only works through a direct connection with the USB. So then you've got that going on. It's just a whole mess. It was just, now it might be old-fashioned, but I think a standalone nav system is not too difficult to have.
Yeah.
It's got a compass on it. It had the Kibler setting on there, so you know which way to face to pray. So they could have worked it out, but it just made no sense. The whole infotainment screen, the buttons for the options were probably 2 to 3 inches big.
Yeah, it's a 10-inch screen. I've just looked it up here.
And there was just no reason for them to be so big other than the fact that actually we've only got 3 functions: radio, and the other radio that no one listens to. So it made no sense with it. It's really difficult. The trip computer was clumsy, really clumsy on the trip computer. You had no option for like.
Does anyone use a trip computer anymore, though?
Well, it's good to see how many kilometers you've got left on fuel. It's good to see how how economical you're being.
Okay, gotcha.
I use it, so for me it was a problem. But then now it's effectively a minivan. Let's have it right. It's not going to be something that you're going to take around a racetrack. But it wasn't comfortable.
Oh, really?
So it was really wallowy.
Because that was the one thing that I always used to think is, okay, I can get away with all the electronics. I can get away with some of these other things, but if it's comfortable...
No. It wasn't. It was really soft and wallowy on the road. And you accept it because it's not a car. It's a minivan. That's
But even a minivan, you don't want it to be too
But the seats weren't forgiving. We drove to Corfacan.
Okay, that's a good drive.
And went to Wadi Shees, and we went around the Heritage Village and all that sort of stuff, and it was great. But dreading getting back in it to drive it home. And actually got into the Touareg. I drove the Touareg on the days I was going in and out of work.
Yeah.
And just getting in the Touareg and it, like, turning the steering wheel and it turning.
Okay.
And it not rolling and not having to fight with any of the controls, the brakes stopping it and the accelerator moving it, and not having any... I mean, the Touareg's not a people carrier, but it's a big car.
Yeah.
And... it's 8 years old and it felt much more refined. And
that's disappointing.
It's disappointing because Kia and Hyundai from afar, and I had a Sportage in 2015. We bought a new one at the end of the line of that model at the time. All singing, all dancing for that we could have. And I was quite enamoured by it. I liked it. But it was a smaller vehicle, and there was less to expect in them days. I just think that, on the surface of it, they seem to be getting closer. But this was a big letdown. And I don't think it was a bottom spec one. I think it was a mid to high spec option, and it was 400 dirhams a day.
It's a lot of money.
And it could have been better. One thing I will say about it, for its size, although it was gutless, the fuel economy was okay.
What do you mean it was gutless?
There was just no power to it. It just had nothing at all. It was a 3.5 litre.
Like you would expect at 3.5 litres, it would have something.
Well, people that drive Pajeros know that they don't. There's 3.5 litre Pajeros have nothing.
Like a 3.8 in the old Wrangler.
That's a decent engine, to be fair, actually. But this was gutless.
Wow.
It obviously wasn't getting the best out of the engine from the transmission and the way it was set up.
Yeah, okay.
But it's
set up as a minivan to be just kind of...
get people off the mark and get them where they're going. Yeah. But you just noticed it, especially coming out of petrol stations trying to filter onto busy roads.
Right, and that's where you want to be able to put your foot down and you get some oomph and you can...
it just didn't feel...
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
you're having issues with the navigation system. You're having issues with the phone charger area. It gets a little warm. Seats aren't so comfortable. It's a little wallowy as you're driving. This is like all the X's are coming out here on the... Well, what I get?
Yeah, look, if it was a 80 dirhams a day sunny...
Yeah.
You can't get a sunny for 80 dirhams a day now, but, if it was if it was whatever, no problem. Yeah, it's got a turn dial radio. Who cares? Yeah. Tape deck in it, and great. But...
At 400 dirhams a day.
It wasn't. It was a high spec, of their... Okay, it's not Genesis. Genesis is their premium brand now for that group, but it was their premium brand, and it's their almost just... It's just disappointing in terms of a vehicle. It's not a car that anyone's going to buy to have fun with. It's not a car that anyone's going to buy aspirationally. It's a car that somebody buys because they've had too many children to fit in a normal saloon car, or they've got family coming and they're going to rent one. It just doesn't make sense. I know people. I mean, Colin from We Will Fix It, he has a vehicle with 7 seats in it. Yeah. He only has 2 children, but he has that so that when family come, he has space for them. This is not the car that I would buy if I was in a position to be able to have a car too big for those occasions. It was very, very underwhelming.
Did they have any Tellurides there that you could have?
No.
Oh, okay,
no.
so you couldn't even...
I should have gone for the CX-9. I know the CX-9 is a decent car. I've driven one before. We get them into work on them. This was obviously a new one, but
if you got to put the kid seats in the back and stuff... and
it just wasn't worth the hassle, yeah.
That's sad, because I was really hoping I was going to hear that this is a doable vehicle. And, it might work in some situations, but
I think there's a lot better out there.
Yeah.
I think having driven that, look, an Armada, Nissan Armada, which are all 10 years old now, would have been a better option to go for. You know,
I don't see a lot of the Palisades on the road right now. I mean, I see them, but I don't see as many as I would expect to see. I wonder if people have gone out and they've given them the drive and they just kind of go, you know what, I'm going to go for a Carnival or something.
Yeah, I'd have taken. You know what? Actually, that's a good thing you brought that up. The Palisade drove how you'd expect the Carnival to drive. Because it felt like a minivan. It wasn't until you got out of it that you realise actually it felt like that. And because, as I say, it did have 7, you can almost say full-size seats for the rear. Yeah. You could fit adults in the back, and there was an option to put a headrest in, and you could. There's zero room for anything in the back.
Right.
So once you've got the seats up, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's no luggage going in there. You know what? It sounds to me like it almost sounds like it's trying to be a Ford Flex. And Ford doesn't obviously make the Flex anymore. I loved the Flex, and what I loved about the Flex was everything you're describing. The ability of the seats. There was comfort in those seats. You could put your foot down, and man, you would fly. But it didn't feel like a minivan when you were driving it. It felt like a big car. And you got out, and you kind of went, "What am I driving?" And you kind of, it's a Flex. Okay.
Yeah, like you drive, and again, an Audi Q7. It's not as easy to get into the back seats as this was.
Yeah, okay.
But a Q7 still gets 7 people in it.
Yeah.
And it drives like a normal car, effectively. It drives like an SUV. That is a normal car for these days. But it drives. This was almost, they kind of made the space for getting the people in and out of it, and then thought we'd better put that on a chassis and put some wheels on it with an engine to power the wheels. It was very, very, it just felt like a solution to a problem of, okay, we need a car on our fleet that can do 7 people.
Yeah.
We'll worry about how it handles and drives maybe later. And it just doesn't feel like a car. And it's supposed to be. It
sounds to me like it needs another iteration. It needs another round of
they might get it right the next time.
Yeah.
They might
the problem is you lose customers then. When they say, we've redone it, it's like, I drove the first version. I don't know.
The silly thing about it was it had the electric drive settings on it. So it had road and off-road.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, who's actually going to take this off-road? Seriously, what would you... I mean, it's like... if we were driving in crosswinds, I'd have been struggling to keep it. You'd have been seasick. It wasn't, and everything, because it's such a big car, everything was done oversized. So like on the old XC90 and on the old Touareg, where all the buttons were huge because it was inside of a big car, almost agricultural, which is cool, no problem. Yeah. This car had nothing about it that seemed agricultural. The big buttons and stuff in the Touareg and the XC90s were brown and grey. These were like shiny. Yeah. Plastic chrome, and they just made no sense. It didn't have any. There was no redeeming quality about it other than the fact that the AC worked.
Yeah,
and it wasn't too bad on fuel. So it was disappointing because I was thinking, this will be all right. This.
Yeah. Like you're hoping, like you're looking at it. It's stylish looking from the outside. They look nice.
Yeah. It's unnecessary. Genuinely is unnecessary to the point where it would have been better. 100% to have hired 2 smaller cars for the same price and just had 2 people drive. It would have been. I'll never hire one of those again. At the point of us needing seats for extra people, we'll work something else out, because it wasn't a comfortable car. And
did you get the same comments from the in-laws who were passengers in it? And
they never gave any feedback on it, really. I mean, like I say, they were just happy to have. They got two grandkids in the car smacking them around the head and throwing stuff at them, so they got other things to worry about. But it was. I mean, father-in-law fell asleep every time we were in it, so obviously it must have been comfortable enough for him.
Yeah,
but it was disappointing. That's where I would say I was at with it. It didn't inspire me to think, I wonder how that's not bad. Maybe a bit too big. What's the Santa Fe like? Or just forget it. Not interested. They're not there yet. They aren't. And that car was all style and no substance, and it doesn't look as good as a Telluride anyway.
Yeah. So
not much style either.
That's not fine. What can I say? Thanks for the review. But, and you know what? Other folks are going to be saying, thanks for the review.
Well, yeah, people planning summer holidays maybe need to rent cars and stuff. I certainly wouldn't recommend that.
And I think that's the underlying message is, if you're out car shopping, go and get in these things and get in the back seats and open everything up. And if you got kid seats that you're going to be putting in things, put the kid seats in. And if you travel or you're going to have people coming, bring some suitcases with you and see, okay, how's this all going to fit?
Yeah.
Because we never do that. And no car company, showroom is going to be upset with you doing that. They're going to laugh, but they're going to go, oh man, I wish you hadn't brought all that stuff. But you get a real life situation going so that you know, okay, what's this thing going to be like? And ultimately, I always say, and I think in a sense you did exactly what people need to do who are they're thinking of investing in a vehicle. Rent the thing for a week.
Yeah.
And get a real world, drive of it, and then you're going to find out, hey, I love this vehicle. Or it's like, you know what? It's nice to drive around the block on the test drive, but in the real world setting, I think I'll pass.
I think, to be honest, with that car, there's no showroom that's selling them that will rent them before they buy. Yeah. I mean, it genuinely is the kind of, we make the joke about people that drive a Pajero they've not chosen to drive that. They're driving it because they have no choice. They need the space and they need the seats. Yeah. I'd have driven a Pajero. The Pajero would have driven better than that. Like I say, the seats in the Pajero aren't proper full size in the back, and they're not as easy to get in and out of. But it didn't even meet that standard. Jeez. And it was just unnecessarily big in every way, which then made everything else that they got to do to make it feel like a car more difficult, and to the point where I think it's probably just impossible for that size.
All right, there we go. Well, that's unfortunate.
Well, not for me.
I don't
work for Hyundai, so it's not a problem for me. I've given it back and I paid the money, and I'll never darken their door again. Yeah. But
unfortunate for them that that you just didn't get the experience out of that vehicle. I mean, lots of people drive them, and there clearly are folks who are happy with them, but this vehicle did not turn your crank. So
yeah, I don't think we need to say any more about that.
No, I want to talk a little bit about body shops. You sent in a nice little image, going, look what this body shop did. This is a dilemma that we face. You got cars that have got weather damage to them, to their paint jobs. They're old. The paint gets old. You got to go and get stuff fixed. You got to go find a body shop. And I don't know. I mean, it's one thing that mechanics get dumped on. Body shops, I think, are 2 steps below the mechanics.
The problem with body shop work is it's very, very hard to make somebody happy with how people want to be served. Right. So what I mean by that is, if you bring your car to me for a service, if you don't have anything wrong with the car, you're either going to, best case scenario, take the car away at the end of the same day and it's driving exactly the same as it was that morning, and you've paid me for the privilege. Obviously you understand the benefit of the service, but ultimately that's how it is. Or worst case scenario, you're going to bring the car into me thinking it's fine. I'm going to do the service, then I'm going to call you or send you pictures or videos or whatever and say, look, there's this, and this that's wrong with it, and to fix it, it's going to be X amount. Well, you're not happy there, are you?
No.
So either way, you pay me for either nothing, effectively, or you pay me to tell you that your car's worse than you thought, and you've got to pay me more to fix it. So you're not happy when you come to me. And even if you then fix everything, it still feels like the same car to you.
Yeah.
So ultimately, there's no immediate gratification from coming to me. In the body shop, you either go there because you've got a big nasty scratch or dent on the side of the car, or the paint's faded in the sun, or you fancy putting black wheels on, or you want to fit a spoiler, or you want to add chrome or remove chrome, or whatever it may be. There's something you want to do that when you then pick it up is done, and you can immediately see the difference, and it's all shiny and it's nice and clean and it looks great. So you should, in theory, be happy when you go back to the body shop to pick your car up, because it's a visual difference. And sometimes, like I say, something that you actually wanted rather than were repairing. So body shops have it easy in that respect. Now, the problem is, though, people want to be served quickly, and they want to be served at a price point. And there are people out here, and I know the owners of a company out here, who will not bow down to people badgering them for, no, I need it cheaper, what's your best price, can you do it in 2 days, you've said 4, but can you do it in 2? No, take your car away, I'm not working on it. And fair play to them for that, because there's a lot involved. And I know a guy called Leon who has got a restoration shop in Birmingham. There's probably 3 in the whole of the UK that are to their standard, and we're talking back to bare metal, shells off chassis, any rust cut out completely, new panels welded in, smooth back, made as close to being original out the factory quality. And in some cases, in some of the cars they work on, because of the factories they've come from, they go back on the road better than they did ever new.
Wow.
They charge a fortune. Yeah. And they might only work on 15, 20 cars a year, because they'll have a car in for 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. They might have a car in for 6 months. They charge for what they do, and people appreciate what they do. And there are some cars where I don't think anything else other than that level of service should be expected. But when it's an everyday drive, like the Wrangler, like my Touareg, like whoever's listening to this, whatever car, you want to get it done, you want to get it done quickly, then you have to understand that there's probably going to be a lower level of skill involved, and it ain't going to be perfect. Now, that being said, sometimes we see some awful repair jobs, really, really bad repair jobs, and there's no way to explain how it's happened. We've had cars come in with masking tape still on them.
Oh, no.
Yeah, with masking tape on them. There's overspray on the black grills. There's overspray all over the suspension parts. Yeah. Just really poor work. I mean, that's got nothing to do with price point. That's just attention to detail.
That's just laziness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, actually. You see when you rock up behind a vehicle and you see the overspray, or you see things, and you kind of go, really?
Yeah.
Pieces that don't actually fit, that they've just kind of wedged in.
I'm just checking to see if I've still got a picture of it. We had, I don't think I've got it, but we had a car come in, and the customer had been obviously somewhere and had his wheels painted, and he'd had them painted black. Okay. And they were a Mercedes AMG, and on the AMG wheels they say AMG into them, and they're stamped in. Yeah. And he'd obviously asked them to leave that showing as silver. And then they paint it, so the way you would do it is just fill it with something that you can break out, paint it, and then break it out. What they'd actually done was they'd done that on 3 of the wheels and then forgot on the other wheel. Oh, no. And just left it in. Oh, no. Now, from my point of view, it's like, if we'd have done something like that, they'd have been hounding us about it. Yeah. This guy's been to a body shop, paid them to have the wheels painted, and they've not finished the job. Yeah. So we picked it all out and took it out. But as we picked it out, because it'd been left in for so long, it then started to peel the paint away on the rim. Yeah. So then I've got a problem trying to help somebody. Yeah. And it's just like, the road to hell is lined with good deeds and all that. So then we end up getting the wheel painted. And
oh, man.
But these things are so frustrating, because you've got you can be on such a good relationship with a customer when you work in a body shop, because most of them are coming for something that when you've done it, they're going to be appreciative of it immediately.
Yeah.
You know, you come to me for a service, you're only going to be able to look back on it when your car's done 500,000 kilometres and think, you know what, I'm glad I took it for service regularly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
If you get a knocking noise or something, we fix it. But you don't want to do that. If you want to put black wheels on your car, if you want to lower the car, if you want to put rolled arches on there, if you want to stretch something, shrink something, whatever it may be, body shops can do that for you, and it's a required level of service that you've asked for, whereas ours is distress purchasing, and it really annoys me. I think the one I sent you was the Grand Carnival, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Grand Carnival.
Where they'd put the letters on upside down.
Yeah, I know. I thought this was a joke. I had to look a couple of times and go, no, you're just pulling my leg here. No.
I couldn't believe it. Who's done that?
Someone who's illiterate.
And then who's not complained?
Yeah. It's like they didn't notice because they weren't happy with the car to start with.
We sometimes forget to stamp service books.
Yeah.
And people complain.
Oh, of course.
We never put their letters on the Broadway around the back of a car.
Tell me about this Wrangler Supercharged that you had come in.
Yeah, so
my wife's first thing was, is it for sale?
Yeah, so a friend of mine had previously owned a Jaguar, and thankfully he parted ways with it, and he actually bought this for his partner. Okay. So she needed a car.
A supercharged Wrangler?
Well, it was part of somebody's collection.
Okay.
And they weren't using it. Well, obviously it was a 2013 and it had done 25,000 kilometres, so it's barely even run in. And he got it for a steal. He didn't tell me how much of a steal, but a steal, and it had been modified. There was a lot of work done by various different entities based on the stickers and the stuff that was all over it. But it had a supercharger put on it. And we've seen one before. There was a guy who lived near me in Ras Al Khaimah. He had the same setup on his, and makes complete total sense. I don't know. I know you can buy the SRT V8 now in the current Wrangler. I don't know why you never did that. Why they never did that in the old one, and I don't know why they never supercharged them. I mean, it's fantastic. The power is total. I mean, this car's too high for the supercharger.
Right. Okay.
This was jacked up to within an inch of its life, and then it made that it was really all over the place when you put the power down.
Yeah.
But in the sand and in the desert, it'll make a massive difference, because being belt driven, supercharger gives you instant torque.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for a supercharger in the sand. You know, so I think they're going to enjoy driving that for a long, long time. Yeah, and the work well, it was good. There's a couple of little tired things from it being sat around in a warehouse for 90% of the last 10 years almost.
Yeah.
But it drove well, and he and his partner are certainly going to enjoy that.
Nice. Yeah, my wife was intrigued, I got to tell you. So
yeah, I mean, it squealed like a supercharger should, so it was fun. Yeah, fun.
You want to see that out in the sand. Speaking of crazy colored rims, did you see the little post from Imtishan? I guess he's probably, I don't know what vehicle he's onto. No, he's still driving the Ford, but he's got a fetish for 1985 colored wheels that you would put on a Trans Am.
Oh, I saw the gold rims.
The gold rims. He loves gold rims. My wife and I had a chat about this last night over dinner, and we both agreed. Yeah, those rims only look good on a black Trans Am with the nice big eagle on the hood with the T-top off.
No, as I remember, his post mentioned Clio Cup and Subaru Impreza, and in the UK, there's no such thing as a Trans Am.
Yeah,
and apart from like on a Saturday night show about some thing that David Hasselhoff's in, but you'd have a Subaru Impreza or a Clio Sport Cup, and they'd have gold rims on. They're always blue with gold rims.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're going to go on the Land Cruiser, are they?
I think so.
Yeah, so they're going to go on the Land Cruiser, but
even worse.
Yeah, he's looking forward to the reveal.
Yeah, me too.
Keeping everybody waiting. Yeah, I hope it's a mad colour. I don't think it's going to be.
No, I think it's going to be back to custom. The stock colour.
Never know.
That grey with gold rims.
You never know. You never know.
It's Imtishan.
He doesn't like the grey cars, though, does he? No. I've seen a few of his comments about grey cars. I'm into a grey car. I like it.
So I don't know. He's put a lot of time and effort into his dream Land Cruiser. So we'll see.
Well, look, it's going to last him.
Yeah.
If it's been done right, it's going to last him. Yeah. So he's going to have it until he decides to sell it and then regret it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We've run out the clock on the show. Time flies when you're
Busy
having
day.
fun. Yeah.
You've got a job to do.
I got a job to do. You got a job to do. But it was great to be able to talk a little bit about body shops, talk a little bit about the Palisade, and
better to talk about it than drive it.